What you're going to hear about today is nothing short of a miracle. It's dramatically new.
I guess we'll dedicate this to all of the fellas who ain't had no pussy in a long time.
That liquor. Do it well. You have that.
Someone had a good line once where they said, when you're on tour, you don't get paid to play, you get paid for the other 23 hours of the day that you're not playing.
The attitude, the business has changed. It's harder for artists to get to the top now. Take no mess.
Playing is the easy part.
Yeah.
That's the fun part. That's the part you look forward to. It's the sitting in the van, it's the loading in, it's the
Loading out.
It's not, not getting to sleep until 2 a.m, that kind of stuff.
Having to get up at 7 to get in the van.
I mean, no matter how late you get to the hotel, they still try to kick you out around 11. And then you got a long drive, and then you get to the club and you set up and you sound check, and then you eat, and then you play, and then you have a few drinks, and then you go back to the hotel and you just do it over and over and over again.
I'm the black godfather. I'm the black godfather. I'm the man.
It is a very long way and hard and rough with a lot of bad experiences and a lot of trials and tribulations.
Anything I'm bad, just asshole. I drink, don't wear nothing but vegetables. I'm the black godfather. I'm the black godfather. I'm the man.
I guess I would say it started in Bessemer, Alabama, where my grandmother used to take me to church, and we used to sing gospel music, and during the week we'd work in the fields and we'd listen to country and western music, and I guess basically that was my initiative, was to get involved in the music field some kind of way.
Economically, Detroit's pretty depressed. There's really not a whole lot of outlets for anything else. There's not a lot of industry there, but there's a lot of empty buildings where somebody can set up a rehearsal space and or a recording studio.
Time is running out, and I can't wait. I have to say this before it's too late. I wanna be the one to hear you call, to catch you as you tumble while the empire falls. And when I say it out loud, I look like Schlemiel, but I gotta do it anyway. Tell you how I feel.
I formed the Dirtbombs on paper in June or July of 1992, and the first actual lineup got together in September of 1992. We didn't play a note until 1995.
There's nothing here for us and no place left to go. Slipstream of destruction has us in its tow. But there's one thing that can make it alright, holding on to you in the dying light. And when I say it out loud, I look like Schlemiel, but I gotta do it anyway.
I joined the band 9 years ago, and I didn't think I thought like, you know, we'd do a tour or something like that. I didn't think it was going to be, you know, a third of my life at this point.
This band was not supposed to last this long. I really gave it, you know, when I formed it, and you know, when we finally got together in '95, I pretty much gave it until '99, and then I was going to be done with it.
We all graduated from the same high school, and we're all in different bands. And then when we graduated high school, it's kind of like, now what are we going to do? Then we formed another band, became the Supersuckers. Instead of going to college and pursuing a career.
Well, this in itself is a career.
If you stick to it long enough, it becomes a career.
Yeah, you have to stick it out, though.
You ready for the beginning of the show? All right, then put your hands together and make feel welcome. The greatest rock and roll band in the world. Kinda give it up. Let's hear it for the Supersuckers. Come on. I've been working like a mother just to get this fucker right. I got my ass down in the gutter trying to irrigate this drought. I no fear, cause now it's here. But rock and roll records ain't selling this year. I got my nuts against the grain and yeah, you know that it's a bitch. Playing through the pain and watching shit bands get rich. It's crystal clear to all my peers that rock and roll records, they ain't selling this year.
We didn't look at the music industry when we started at all, you know. We just thought, you know, we're going to go and conquer the world, and that will be that. You know, we didn't think about all the work that goes into it. And now, you know, we definitely have to work at it because we want to do this for a long time. And I'd be lying if I said we got into this to work, because we got into this to not work. You know, this not working was the goal. And now that it is a modicum of work to achieve what you want to achieve, you know, it becomes a drag at times, but it's worth it. It's rewarding at the end of the day.
Right now, the one, the only, Nashville Pussy!
Me and my wife was in Nashville, and basically we played guitar together in the kitchen for like 3 or 4 years, and we decided to find other people and play, basically. And we took it from the kitchen to the world, pretty much, you know.
How long can I drag this thing on? It feels like someone pissed inside my soul. Spend my life perfecting desperation. Never gave a damn about self-control. And if the rock dropped out of hell, I'd be too low down, even till God, I'll keep on living, 'cause dead man can't get drunk. No.
We originally were called Hell's Half Acre, and we realized there was like 10 bands called that. And then
we performed the very first show we played. We went up on stage and it was only in front of like 20 people, and we went, "Hey, we're not Hell's Half Acres anymore. Now we're Nashville Pussy."
Yeah.
Like,
Mass destruction. Gotta keep on living, 'cause dead men can't get drunk. No, they can't get drunk.
It's from a
Y'all gonna be called like Ham or Bacon or something like that?
Where Bacon Battleship was one, our original drummer and her, and he was
That's
just
cool.
He was just trying to sabotage it.
I wanted to
It
call-
wasn't his main group. He wanted the hookers to do better than Nashville Pussy. So it's like, yeah, let's call this Bacon Battleship. Like,
I wanted to go to see Bacon Battleship.
oh, we wanted to call a band Ham for a while.
we wanted to call it Ham.
I thought I still thought it'd be great.
The greatest band in the land. Ham. It sounds so cool.
Nashville Pussy came from a Ted Nugent intro on one of the songs. He dedicates to Wang Dang Sweet Ping Tang, to all that Nashville Pussy. And just, I used to play the record for my little sister and her friends to play the word pussy real loud so it would scare them. So.
Yeah, it's a good thing Ted Nugent didn't say, "Here's a little song dedicated to all those Bacon Battleships out there."
The song goes on to all that ham.
It was our dream name from the get-go.
It was the best name
In
there
fact,
was.
When I came, when I was born, that was it. I knew then, from day one,
The truth
of my life
is that we formed a band. We didn't really worry about having a name, and then we got a show booked before we even had a name, and it came down to a quarter toss between Monkey Wrench and the Black Supersuckers, because we only had like a week before they started making posters, and we didn't even have a name yet. So
the truth sucks,
and the truth does suck. But that's the story.
Really meant to change it a long time ago. We still just haven't got around to it. So we're working on it.
It's still a work in progress. We are.
So now, 20 years later, it's become a career.
We forgot, yeah.
Still haven't changed that name yet. It's too late.
Yeah.
I formed Southern Culture with my roommate in college, Stan Lewis, and I think, it's been a long time, I think like 1982, 83 maybe. I was going to school at Carolina, he was going to school at Carolina. We used to practice in my studio at the art lab until the school shut us down. I guess the dean of students lived somewhere over in that neighborhood. And that's where we started, and we played our first gig, I think at a pizza parlor. Second gig we opened for a porn movie.
Called
Cafe Flesh. And it was about, well anyway, it doesn't matter what it was about. It was a porn movie. And
it was an arty porn movie.
It was an arty porn movie.
Artsy porn movie. Yeah.
But anyway, but Stan and some of the people that are in the band, they quit when they got out of school, and Mary joined up in 1987, and Dave in 1988.
We used to play like about half covers or more, and we used to get a lot of shit for that. And I was like, I'd rather hear a good cover than a bad original.
You know, when we started this band, we didn't have songs. We played other people's, and then we made some up, you know what I mean? And so that's usually how bands get together. Is they get together and like, first song we ever played together was like Live Wire by AC/DC and Nadine by Chuck Berry, and we'd play them again and gelled as a band and then made up some songs. So, you know, but it's fun to play other people's tunes. There's a lot of good tunes out there.
Yeah, you know, the need for us to write songs is really non-existent.
Yeah.
There's enough songs out there already. We don't really need to be making any more up. But we do.
For me, there's no real hyphen on the music the Dirtbombs make. We're a rock band. No specific kind. We're just a rock band. So whatever mood I happen to be in, musically speaking, is how the song comes out.
There is no genre. Toe-sucking geek rock.
Or hillbilly surf rock. Or rah.
I have, you know, I've been listening to music my entire life. You know, I grew up surrounded by records. And so to pick anything over anything else would be, I don't know, I can't even imagine trying to pick a single influence or even a dozen main influences on the Dirtbombs.
AC/DC, real obvious ones, AC/DC, Motorhead. And,
Classic rock.
You know, yeah, a lot of you know, punk rock too, and, you know, like club punk rock from the 80s and stuff like that, I guess. You know.
Yeah, Motorhead, the Ramones, AC/DC, those are kind of like the holy trilogy.
Yep.
For us, what we base our template of rock on.
Ray Charles, Johnny Cash, the Flamingos, they were out of Chicago. They never made it really big.
But also more and more like a funk and soul too.
Yeah, you can't. Ones you don't know, like Funkadelic and James Brown, they're my heroes.
And Al Green.
People who are lifelong musicians that were on the road, and just, you know, dedicated their life, like James Brown and Bill Monroe and Muddy Waters. Those are my heroes, you know.
Wham.
Some Wham.
Some Wham.
Little Aha thrown in there for good measure. Some Kaja Goo Goo.
Take that, you know.
Men Without Hats. Big.
You know, the staples.
I don't know. Everybody's a music fan in the band, you know, so everybody listens to their own stuff. And I mean, sometimes I'll listen to a song and go, dude, I want that guitar sound, you know, so I'll kind of fool around with it and mix it up. But I think most of it, we just kind of play, and what comes out, you know.
Yeah, we're a rock band. And, you know,
Yeah.
people's like, what are you, punk rock? I'm like, no. And now it's like, it's easier just to say we're a classic rock band to anybody to ask. It's like you're like Maroon 5? It's like, no, we're not like that kind of rock band.
The only reason the band stayed together for the 5 years that I originally planned was because it made me money so I could go to comic book conventions. That was why I kept doing it. And then suddenly, at some point, the crowd started getting bigger, and we started making a lot more money. I was like, well, I guess I can do this for another year. And then it was like, I guess I can do this for another couple of years. And, and then suddenly it was like, all right, we're on tour now.
I would also say too that, you know, there was a good streak of luck of people, you know, leaving the band just as they were getting on everyone's nerves.
The suburbs, almost as much written about as Madison Avenue, and just as much in need of reflection.
How I was raised and you know, the culture where I went to school and everything, the idea was, you know, you go to high school, you go to college, and you get a real person's job, and you become a grown-up at that point, you know. I wasn't really prepared. No one really showed me that, you know, how to live this kind of touring, nomadic rock and roll lifestyle where, you know, you go full tilt for an entire year, and then, you know, as it stands right now, I don't think anyone wants to tour next year at all. You know, everyone's just gonna, you know, wake me up in March and maybe I'll see you, you know?
Touring is where most bands make their money. Most bands don't, you know. Touring is you know, it's a necessary evil. It's fun to play live, but sometimes it can be rough to do. But you know, it's something you got to do. And
the traveling can be hard on you.
Yeah,
it's just fun. We miss being home. You know, you got pets and boyfriend, girlfriends, and stuff like that. You know, and you know, normal life and friends. You know, you definitely miss that. It's a pretty limiting lifestyle. It's like basically we're right by that bus all day, or we're here, or you know.
We don't have to worry about van trouble that much anymore, but it used to be a cloud hanging over your head all the time. We spent 10 days in Glendive, Montana once, stranded, getting a new engine built by this hillbilly mechanic who also had to stop each day to take care of his sick horse. And
That's top rung right there, top shelf. We all have our own bench seat in the van. That's important. Because I think when you tour, it's not about physical space, it's about mental space. And if you can surround yourself with your own junk, it makes you feel better.
Does anybody want one of my bras? I mean girls. 36B. 36B? That's a good one. Never worn this one. 36B.
What do you think about surrounding yourself with your own junk?
I feel very comfortable surrounded in my own little puddle of clothes and wigs and yeah.
I'm gonna dedicate this song to all the out-of-towners here tonight. All of our friends.
Quitting my job, I'm gonna grow myself a beard. Sitting a lazy boy and drink some beer.
year alone, where we did close to around 160 shows. And at that point, you look at the past year of your life, and it's punctuated by, rest stops and
hotel rooms.
Just thinking like the other day, we were sitting around, like, you say 160 shows, okay, you figure that's still less than half the year. But there's days off once or twice a week where you're not playing a show, you're still away from home.
You're still not at home.
Who knows how many days we were traveling? I mean,
yeah, there's days where you're just driving. You may be off, but you're still driving.
I miss being home. I'm married, I got a kid. I miss them now.
Our lives have basically been on hold all year. We got to go home and pick all that stuff up.
There's a lot of collateral damage.
Yeah, there is. My dad died right at the beginning of the tour, and I lost a nephew just a few weeks ago, right at the beginning of the end of the tour. So those two funerals I didn't make because I was on a plane somewhere. So my family, I haven't spoken to my family members in weeks. I have no idea if the house, my stuff isn't even still standing. Half of my family relocated to Georgia while I was gone. I know nothing about any of that. I don't know what's happening there.
I like to move around. I always have. Ever since I left Alabama, I've loved to move around. And I think touring and traveling is one of my most gratifying experiences.
Here we go. We're the Supersuckers. Thank you. Good night.
At the end of the day, that's the one experience that can never, ever be duplicated is, you can tell somebody you were at a show all day long, but, you can't download that experience. You have to be there, And so you got to do it, Maybe we'll have the Supersuckers Casino in Vegas and the fans can tour coming up. But that hasn't happened yet.
That would be nice.
I started playing music professionally and actually getting money for making music in 1980. And now it's an entirely different planet than it was back then.
Through the years, RCA Victor has built a tradition of continually introducing new ideas and products to bring new thrills and pleasures to millions in home entertainment. In keeping with that tradition, RCA Victor now offers a completely new development for new listening enjoyment with tape. Watch this.
There's now, basically everything about the industry itself is gone.
Geffen, we had great A&R guys. Fantastic. But the rest of the label kind of blew. I mean, they didn't know what was going on. I mean, I remember meeting the publicity woman who, broke Joni Mitchell. It was like, okay. And all she could talk about was star quality that Slash had, and I was like, who cares? You know what I mean?
It's not as evil as I thought it'd be. I thought it'd be like TV, where they say do this and don't say that, and no one ever really did that.
We had a little touch of evil with Tom Zutaut.
Spinal Tap seems much more real now.
Yeah.
Now they can't get drunk.
We did have one A&R guy who was I think he was a throwback to the past. He was the guy who signed Guns N' Roses and stuff, and he saw a little flash of, I think we were going to be his golden band for a while, and he did pull a little bit of evil here and there. He was like,
it was good. It was good.
But I mean, good intentions.
It's a good friend,
obviously.
Man. I like it.
But he was trying to encourage him to sing a particular way. And we were in the studio. We'd already finished our second. It was their second record. We'd already completed the entire thing, and he came in on the very last day, and he really liked the way he sang on one song. And we sat behind him and was whispering in his ears, it's like, man, if you sang like this, you'd be like the Jesse James rock and roll. I was like,
Girls
oh,
will fuck you.
Girls will fuck you,
Girls
man.
gonna wanna
It's
fuck you,
gonna
man.
be, you know, you really should redo this.
And he was like leaning over me in my face, and that was the most awkward moment in my life. It was, and our producer was over there, and he still tells the story, man. And he's just like looking, going, "Good God, what the fuck is going on?"
Things started kind of shifting on the second record, because first record went pretty well. We pretty much toured the world on that, and then you could tell there was a shift in the tectonic plates of the major label industry about the time the second one came out, you know?
They're not going to waste their time.
Exactly. They're not gonna that basically sums it up. They're not going to waste their time on us.
I mean, we know when a record comes out, it'll sell X amount of copies, and we can tour, you know, X amount of countries in X amount of days, and you know, it'll work this way.
Well, I mean, you know, on the other hand, too, though, we got airplay, Lord knows how, with that song Camel Walk. I mean, it was a total throwaway B-side filler for the album. And we had already toured the States, coast to coast, and Europe, I think. And all of a sudden, they started playing it on the radio. And it was like, wow, another whole round of touring. All of a sudden, the record sold like, 100,000 copies. More and more after that. It was, I mean, I figured if we could hold on to maybe 20% of these people, that we might have a shot at, continuing our careers. But when the next record came out and radio wasn't as kind to that one, they dropped us pretty quick as far as promoting the record, Same old story, you've heard it a million times. We continued on, did our thing, but when it came time to renew our contract, our A&R guys were great. They went to bat for us because they were real music fans. But I think the company at that point, Nirvana had been gone for a while, there was no cash cow bringing it in.
But you know what Geffen Records is now? I passed by it when we were in the West Coast recently, and I guess there's a couple of bands that still put their records out like with a little Geffen logo on it, but they don't really exist anymore. And the building that used to be Geffen is now a medicinal marijuana clinic.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
So the record industry's gone to pot.
Yeah, but most people have actually been pretty nice. Actually, I mean, whether they've done a good job or not, or that is another thing. But as far as like the ones they like to come to Nashville Pussy shows because they come backstage and get to drink with us and stuff, and but that doesn't mean that they're gonna go the next morning and like. The priority is going to be us. Yeah, they're going to be talking about how much fun they had with us, while they're doing like something for another cheesy band probably.
And there's an entirely new set of rules, most of which haven't been internalized, and some of which haven't even been codified yet, with regard to distribution over the internet, and how now are you going to make any money when no one's buying records?
In the past, stereophonic tapes, like this one, gave about 36 minutes of music and cost about as much as 3 LP records. But with the new tape cartridge with easy magazine loading, living stereo will be available at a cost of a little more than 1 LP record.
You have to come up with an entirely new business model now, and it's a different business model depending on the band. There's
like 2 types of bands that are on the internet. Ones that need the publicity and ones that don't need the money. So that's kind of like that, Like Aerosmith is bitching because people aren't buying their back catalog anymore. But Christ, man,
People didn't used to bitch about it when they were dubbing tapes.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt.
Well, we never sold 1 million records to begin with, so it's really not affecting us at all.
Yeah. I don't think it's affecting us in anything but a positive way. To have people be more internet savvy. Helps a little band like us because that's how we reach our people. That's how we get our word out about what we're doing and what we have to offer. And I think anytime anybody's going to use the internet to do something, it helps us.
The corporate mentality has ruined the record industry, and the digital revolution has sunk what was left of it. Nobody can make any money. Downloads hurt. You know what I mean? Labels aren't making the money. That's why they're not putting in, I think that's part of the reason Dave was saying the record labels aren't ambitious, but nobody's making any money.
Loving man.
to go. Slipstream of destruction has us in its tow. But there's one thing that can make it alright. Holding on to you in the dying light.
I actually, I personally lament, you know, the demise of like, for example, going into record stores. Like, I like going into record stores and seeing my records in the store. That's my reward for all of it, really. That was how I started out doing it, because I wanted to see my own records in stores. And, you know, there's going to be a point at some point, soon, you know, sooner or later, there's going to be a point where that isn't possible anymore.
In announcing broadcasts, I've heard a lot of great music, but I got one of my biggest musical thrills visiting the Camden plant of RCA Victor. In that plant, guarded day and night behind these huge steel doors, I found a treasure house of music, the music of the world's greatest artists of past and present. These are the master discs from which millions of great records have been pressed.
There's still a market for a physical good, you know, and I always liked vinyl anyway. The CD is probably going away for almost forever, but there's still a market for physical good, and because I like vinyl, I'm pretty happy about that. I know that for a time, I'll still be able to go in and see my 45s and see my LPs in the bins.
I think people always want quality. What they think is quality is what the problem is. You know, they think that McDonald's has a quality product, and we think it's garbage. You know, so, you know, the masses are asses. You know, what most people think is quality is just generally crap. And that's the problem for a band like us, I think. You know, we're like a boutique operation, you know, offering something really good and special, but, you know, it's harder to find than your McDonald's burger. So, you know, I don't feel like we're like a cookie cutter art form. We make something that's special and quality, and, you know, I want people to realize that when they hear what we're doing.
That's right, I'm here to testify on behalf of the rock and roll record. Rock and roll records. Rock and roll records. Rock and roll records that ain't selling this year. Rock and roll records. Rock and roll records. Rock and roll records. They ain't selling this year. They ain't selling this year. I was painfully clear. They ain't selling this year.
I didn't know nothing else to do, and all I knew was the music industry. And as the music changed from one thing to another, I wanted to stay in the music business, and the only way I could stay in the music business was do something different. So when the talking ran out, then I started being a roadie, and after the roadie ran out, then I started managing. Then after the managing got boring, I started back to writing again and started recording again. And it was just back and forth to all the different fields until I'm here now.
I'm personally of the view that, you know, whatever I can do to get them into the show, you know, is what I'm willing to do. Because, you know, we make more money from the shows than we make from record sales anyhow. So, you know, and as nice as our deal is with, you know, the deals that we get from the various record labels goes, I mean, there's a point at which, you know, it's about the show.
We like to play, you know, and it's fun to go to Europe. We have a hard time saying no, I think.
Yeah.
You know, we opened up for Iron Maiden in front of like.
Yeah, we just played Whackenfest.
Whackenfest, you know, we still have high points.
In front of,
It's
like,
really
whatever
cool.
it was, like 80,000 people or something like that. And we're 100,000 by the end of the night. And, you know, we got nominated for a Grammy right off the bat. We played Cannes Film Festival. We've done all sorts of completely crazy things. We're on TV show with Bruce Springsteen, you know, like.
The Fuji Festival, I think it was the first year they
We were the
kicked
first
it
band.
off. We were the first band to kick it off, and so,
The next day they had a mudslide.
yeah, tsunami hit, so the second day we were canceled, but
It was pretty wild though, because it was cold. even though it was summertime, and it was Mount Fuji, and the whole crowd was going up and down from the minute we hit the first chord. And I swear they created a cloud above them. There was a cloud above the audience, created from their own perspiration. That was pretty awesome.
When I joined the band, I was 17 years old, and I'm still the youngest person in the band, but at that point I was the youngest person by far, and had never toured playing in a band before, had never really played outside of the city of Detroit. Whereas the point where I've just stuck around long enough that I'm kind of I've been in the band, as long as, the other, 9 years at this point. And to the point where it's like,
longer than anybody but me.
Yeah, well, it just comes to the point of just like, taking on more and more responsibilities, just the long, it's like coming up through a company, like you'd say, you start out in the mailroom and then you move up and stuff like that. So basically what I'm saying is I think eventually I'll be lead singer. And,
You're gonna need a bit of a tan there.
Mick can get the CEO office. He can just run the show. You won't have to tour. I'll take over from there.
I'll be in the office.
I don't wanna be a clone. Let's get some on our own. 'Cause my dog got a tree and the cat's got a bone. We're making love. It's something we own. Hey baby, why don't we try to make a break to the countryside, where the stars and night still shine. Wake up to a clear blue sky and the smell of those pines. We're going double wide. Double wide, double wide. Double wide, double wide, double wide, double wide, double wide, double wide, double wide.
Is it a long way?
I'll tell you when we get there. So far, it ain't been short. That's for damn sure.
It ain't been short.
That's pretty good.
No, I don't. The secret to our success is our lack of success, to a degree.
It's a long way to the middle.
It's a long way to the middle, yeah.
It's a long way
I can't even imagine getting to the top.
The first third.
It's a long way to halfway to halfway.
Yeah,
just to get together the start is impossible. Yeah. Then try to get halfway.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely a long way to the top. If you want to rock and roll, that is.
Looking on up. It's fun to, we all enjoy playing. I mean, that's part of why we do this, It's not like like traveling and all that stuff, it can be the work, but the payoff is getting to play.
You want to put pressure on having a good time. You just want to have a good time. Well, there's going to be problems where gear might fuck up or whatever. But overall, you just want to have a good show and a good time, and there's no real try to have a good time. It doesn't really work that well.
It's been a long way. In a whole lot of ways, yeah.
It doesn't seem to end.
Yeah, it never. Someone once said it may stop, but it never ends.
Yeah, even if it's over, it's still going.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an hour there where you don't have to think about anything at all. There's no worries. There's nothing else except the amp and the audience.
I would say that this is one of the most trying business to get into if you are getting into the music field in whichever facet that you're getting into. It's not easy. It is hard. Believe me, trust me, it is rough.
Supersuckers make more mistakes in one day than most bands do in their whole career. We just snap them out like that. Bam! If you're dumb enough, you just might not know when to quit. And that's a positive thing when it comes to rock and roll.
Wow. That's right, we're just too damn dumb to stop.
pretty profound, actually.
Don't get stuck in the one sound, the one frame of music. To move with the music, to try to move in with the generation. If it's hard rock, then try to get into it. Try to change with the groove, change with the feeling, change with the moods.
I've been working like a mother just to get this fucker right. I got my ass down in the gutter, try to irrigate this drought. Have no fear, cause now it's here. But rock and roll records ain't selling this year. I got my nuts against the grain and yeah, you know that it's a bitch. Playing through the pain and watching shit bands get rich. It's crystal clear to all my peers that rock and roll records, they ain't selling this year. That's a little bit of crummy how the music making money seems to slip on through to a world full of dummies. I just get cheers from my blood, sweat, and tears. Cause rock and roll records ain't.
Wear your clean underwear, because we're gonna rock your pants off.
I'm gonna go to work.
To my ears, and rock and roll records, they ain't selling this year. That's right, I'm here to testify on behalf of the rock and roll record.